Hey, Dave.
Sorry I missed you yesterday.
No.
But I was thinking about you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a surprise.
I had to get some seeds, so I couldn't.
We say Dave.
How's everything?
I'm fine, and Dave? Clock's even on.
I checked it this morning. Lee VDOT's not coming.
Shit, okay,
He texted me this morning.
alright,
They got flooded.
alright, something for him,
Well, Bobby had come for him too. If y'all give me a list for VDOT, I can get it to VDOT.
okay. Clock's will bomb,
Yeah, we talked about that spring.
yeah, that ditch needs to be cleaned out, so that water will run down the ditch and run into the swamp instead of across the road. All that rain last night cleaned it out some. Just need to check that ditch. That's all I'm.
Can you bring that up? Can you bring it up in the actual board meeting? In the meeting, so that we can like have it
Yeah.
when we go back through all this stuff.
Yeah, I can bring it up when you. I'll just start when something shall be VDOT's not gonna be here, but if anybody has anything for VDOT,
Yeah, we'll get them.
we'll get them a list right then if you wanna do it that way.
Bobby has something.
Okay.
He wants stripes from Calvary Church. He wants stripes from Calvary Church.
Y'all ready? All right, this time I'd like to call the meeting to order. We welcome everyone this morning. Please rise and join us in invocation and the pledge. Our kind and gracious Heavenly Father, be with us this morning as we go about our county's business. Watch over our citizens and keep them safe. Be with our leaders and our medical personnel as we continue to fight this COVID virus. And be with the members of our armed forces and their families, no matter where they are serving. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, as we continue to take precautions to aim to reduce the spread of COVID-19, we ask each of you wear a cloth face covering as recommended by the CDC. Face coverings should be worn throughout the duration of the meeting, and also social distancing should be maintained as best as possible with the space available. And if needed, masks are at the front entrance, and temperatures are being monitored through the computerized device at the door, and hand sanitizer is available for anyone that needs it. Now, before we get into the business this morning, we have some special recognition. We have Mr. Charles Belfield with us this morning. He has some presentations he would like to make.
Thank you, Chairman. David, would you please come forward? And Vicky, you don't want to come up.
Charles, you can take that off while you're speaking. Sometimes it muffles.
I serve as president of the James Monroe chapter of Sons of the American Revolution. And what our organization is about is we honor our patriot ancestors who responded to the first call of action to defend our states, defend our nation, and for us to have the freedoms that we enjoy today. That's what we do. We honor those people. One of the programs that we do is we seek out and we look for the modern day American heroes, people that have gone above and beyond the call of duty for their communities, for their state, for their nation. I heard about young man by the name of David Campbell back some time ago. And I heard about some heroic things that he did. And then later on, I heard of some events that took place. And I wanted to go and sit down with David and just talk with him. I wanted to meet this guy. Because in my eyes, he is an American hero. And after I finished my interview, he really was my American hero. There was an incident back a few years ago that was, there was a person on the bridge in Capitol, a person who was at the end of their hope. So far that this person was thinking about taking a life. She was placed at the highest point of the bridge. She was at a point where she was ready to end her life, and the officers here from Richmond County responded to that event. Just as a moment as she placed her leg over the rail and was getting ready to jump through the expertise and the training of our officers here in Richmond County, she was allured just for a few seconds, and Dave grabbed her with the possibility of him and this person going over the rail and being killed. Thank the Lord that she wasn't. And so was Dave. I'm so thankful that he wasn't hurt either. That person today is doing well, extremely well. She's living a normal life, and she's a happy person. Thanks to them. The second thing that we talked about, and I asked him about another event that occurred just a few months ago, not too long ago here in Richmond County, down on Road 3, an accident which occurred early in the mornings. And Dave was there, he responded, he was doing everything that a police officer is supposed to do. He was securing the area, making sure that the people that were there working the accident were safe, unharmed, but putting himself in a position. He was struck by an automobile. Seriously hurt. Seriously hurt. Thank God that in the grace of God, David is still alive, doing somewhat well. He's starting back to work. And what is so amazing to me, and the reason I really felt compelled to present him with these awards today, is the whole time I talked to David, he just kept saying, I don't want an award. I don't deserve an award. There are many other people in our communities that have done much more than me, and I don't know who that might be. But I just was so moved that this was a young man who had 2 times put himself in a position of almost losing his life for us here in Richmond County. That's why I'm so proud to be a part of the SAR and living in Richmond County, because he, like these other gentlemen, the first responders, all of our police force, all of our fire people, and all of our EMS people, y'all are our heroes. Well, all our heroes. But I'm here today to present Dave for his heroism and his humbleness. I just continue to say, I don't deserve this honor. But Dave, you do. You do deserve this honor. So I'm going to present you today with 2 awards. The first award that I'm going to present to you is a life-saving award in recognition of saving a human life under emergency conditions. So Dave, I proudly present this to you, and here's a medal that goes to you for your heroism on that and saving a person's life. The second award that I'm going to present to you, David Campbell, this is our Law Enforcement Commendation Medal. And it is in recognition of outstanding achievement and dedication to the maintenance of the law and order. Dave, I'm presenting this to you with that. And I just want to say, Dave, you want to make a speech?
voting for Sheriff Smith, giving me a chance. I actually wouldn't be this time. So, the rest of the guys that work with us, we do what we have to do our jobs. I don't think we're yours. I think we do our jobs.
Well, I just want to say on behalf of the Janesville Road Chapter, Sons of American Legion, and a citizen of Richmond County, I'm so proud of all of y'all and the work that you do. And all of y'all deserve recognition. Really do. I'm coming to you as a citizen of Richmond County and just saying, appreciate everything that you guys do for us. Thank you.
We also have Mr. Stephen Pincus with us from Tim's Council, has a couple of awards to present.
Thank you for having us here. It's quite an honor to be here before you today. My name is Steve Pincus, and I'm the new kid on the block at PIMS, which is Peninsula EMS Council. And what we are a nonprofit agency. We work under the Virginia Department of Health, under the Office of EMS Services. And we try to coordinate all activities all the way from the peninsula, Middle Peninsula, and the Northern Neck. So we have 16 different counties and cities and 58 EMS agencies. And I'm here today to present awards both to Chief Paulette and to Captain McDaniel. These awards are the nominations coming to the committee, and we actually don't have any say. The committee, which is made up of people from all the way from almost Richmond down to Hampton, Newport News area, they look at the nominations and they select these individuals. And we could not function as a council and do the things to bring out excellence in EMS without the support of Richmond County and all the other cities and counties that are involved in that. So today I am very pleased to be before you to present the 2020 Russell Lowry Jr. Award for Outstanding EMS Leadership to Chief Mitch Paulette, and also to present Captain Tamara McDaniel with the Outstanding Pre-Hospital Educator Award. And I'll be real brief, but I'd like to just tell you why they got these awards. And you know, it's hard to recognize excellence because all of our providers out there do a wonderful job when they come in contact with the citizens and visitors, and do what they do. And a lot of times it's goes above and beyond. So as you all know, Chief Paulette, he started his career as chief here in Richmond County in 2018. And it's kind of a challenge to maintain a 24/7 career department and coordinate things with volunteers. But he drastically improved the communications between his agency and the local partners that you have up this, and including the helicopter folks and the hospital facilities and staff. One thing that a chief officer does, and Mitch does this very well, is he expects and he achieves very high standards when it comes to his personnel, regardless of whether they're volunteer or their career. And he was able to somehow twist a lot of arms and do a lot of begging and pleading, and got a new EMS building facility that was constructed. So that's a big feat, especially when we're looking at times where there's a lot of fiscal constraints everywhere throughout the state.
He's very good at what he does because they received a grant to receive a new medic unit and state-of-the-art CPR resuscitation equipment, patient monitoring equipment. And so these things like this, although they don't sound like very much, when it comes out to having an emergency where you have a loved one who needs to have emergency services, that's their worst day of their life. And when you demand excellence from the people who come under your leadership, it really pays big dividends. And just talking about non-emergency things, if you look at his interactions with business owners, he discusses a lot of preparedness things. And that's the big thing in emergency situations. If you do your front end work and you ingrain into every member of the community that you have to be prepared. Nobody saw this pandemic coming. And we've had to change the way that we do our normal business. But he's navigated his way through that. He's been here through floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, and he's a very determined individual, and that has paid out dividends for Richmond County. He contributes to making Richmond County a better place for the visitors and the citizens who live here. Now for Captain McDaniel, she's done an outstanding amount of work with limited resources. She's coordinated so many different EMT programs and has helped to train people up. That is a necessary thing, and to bring new people on board and to get them highly trained so that they can actually function out in the field on their own. So that it becomes more like a second nature of, well, I don't really need to look up what I need to do. I just go and do it out of habit. To have that level of training where you train the folks to do what they need to interact, especially in the medical emergencies. You know, you don't get a lot of second chances when you're dealing with somebody in a life and death situation. And it just speaks highly of her. From 2011, she's been teaching the ENT courses here on a yearly basis. In fact, she's getting ready to start a new one here. And a lot of times when the students go through the courses and stuff, they in turn will either stay here in the county on a volunteer basis or even become one of the paid personnel here. And oftentimes they go out to other regions as well to start out a career. So Kat McDaniel, she took a lot of time on educating herself. So to educate another person, you have to be on the cutting edge of what is current and going on in educational components, especially at EMS. This has been very challenging having COVID come upon us because we've had to adapt a lot of things that we wouldn't have normally done throughout the normal course of treating patients. We've had to learn how to do special isolation, special decontamination of our equipment and our units. And she has kind of been, she and Chief have been kind of on the cutting edge of this and leading that. There's been many discussions where we've met the Northern Neck folks and Middle Peninsula people have met through conference calls so that we can keep the region all the way from Peninsula all the way up to this end on the same sheet of music and find out what works and what doesn't work. And it is just such a benefit to us when you have people of their caliber to actually do that. So, and COVID kind of presented a unique task, especially to Captain McDaniel. She had to rework how she delivered that class and did a lot of virtual classrooms and teleconferencing. And she was able to get that class to complete on time. So that's a pretty phenomenal task in and of itself. So she also contributes to the health and well-being of your community, you know, and working with others. And it just makes it a better place to live and work and enjoy. So on behalf of the Peninsula EMS Council, Julie Glover, who is our president, and the entire board and the staff, I'd like to present them both with their awards. So this first one is for Chief Paulette, and he gets the award for outstanding EMS leadership. And this is also one thing that I failed to mention. He will also be entered into the Governor's Awards. So he has been nominated by virtue of receiving this. He will be nominated. They have not announced the Governor's Awards, but we try to put a pretty strong case together to make certain that the folks from the Penns region get recognized as well. Congratulations. For Captain McDaniel, she receives the Outstanding Pre-Hospital Educator. And many, many hours of work go into educating the folks to become EMTs. Congratulations very much, Captain. I thank the board for allowing us to come and make these presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, congratulations to the two of y'all. All right, Dr. Smith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. And thank you for attending the dedication event yesterday, and Mr. Quick for his kind comments. It was a really special day for me. Appreciate it. On Monday, we will begin week 11 of our 2020-21 school year, and the pandemic continues to impact us at varying levels. One of the issues that we have is a student failure. Nationwide and certainly within the Commonwealth, as I speak with other division superintendents, it's very plain to see that the different format and the dynamics of virtual learning, as well as the consequences of the pandemic, are leading to elevated failures on coursework. So we're working diligently with our staff, and we met with the school board yesterday to discuss these, and it's a disconcerting problem, and one that we are working to solve. Apparently, well, and as I've mentioned to the board in the past, when you have large numbers of students that are participating in a distance learning format, distance learning is not a panacea for any of us. We have many students that can function exceptionally well, and even students that have functioned well in the past do not respond well to the distance learning format. It's a different thing that is exceptionally difficult for many children. But there are accommodations which we can make, and teachers utilizing different strategies within their own virtual classroom. So it's we're going to keep on trying. As a segue to that, one of the other issues that is front and center this week has been the athletic guidelines approved through the Virginia High School League, and we will have high school sports programs in Virginia, but they will be in a vastly different format than we've ever had. We will have the winter sports season starting on time in December. It will have the fall sports season 8 weeks later, and then we'll have the spring season 8 weeks at the end of that, ending up at the end of June. So the Virginia High School League has laid this format out. It's been approved by the governor's office and VDH. It's going to be very different, and we are receiving information of school divisions that are opting out because of the significant requirements and consequences of those different seasonal changes. The expense is quite significant because we have no revenue coming in from any of the events, from any of the venues, because of the distance learning standards and the requirements Attendance will be very severely curtailed to literally only parents. And typically, we make enough revenue to pay for transportation as well as the referees, but we won't even come close to that. So many school divisions are just waving it off and saying, we're not going to do that. In a conference call yesterday, many of the local superintendents will be recommending to their boards that they not participate. But that is not a recommendation that I'm willing to make right now. We are going to participate. We are going to move through this program. I believe that the children deserve that. They lost homecoming last year. They lost their proms. They lost graduation, and I really don't want to see them lose anything else if we can help it. So we are going to begin this process and do whatever it takes to really participate in those sports seasons. I would be happy to respond to any questions that the board might have.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Smith?
If none of the local folks are participating in this,
Yeah.
who's gonna play against each other?
That's a that's a problem. The expense goes into our transportation costs also. So if we have to expand our reach to find competition, that's going to add expense to these programs. So we're going to have to monitor that. In the conversations yesterday, there were many superintendents of our local school divisions that were skeptical they could do this. We're not skeptical. We believe that we can, but there's a price to pay for that also.
If your athletes are, some of you in the virtual school, can they still participate in the sports program?
Many of the students that are planning to participate have to return to school in the hybrid formats. We don't have many. We have done a survey on that, and we don't have many, but many are planning to return at the semester break for their participation. So that should be fine.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Smith?
Dr. Smith,
Yes.
if y'all were going out to other areas,
Mhm.
just a thought, and this pandemic is seems to be increasing heavily. Are they putting their kids at risk by going out of their environment more so than what we would if we had stayed in our environment?
Part of the Virginia High School League guidelines and rules levels the playing field in that regard. That everyone is expected to sanitize in similar ways. We have the requirements for social distancing, which are a standard guideline now. So there's many rules and guidelines for the participation through the Virginia High School League that when you participate, this is the format you must follow. If you're found to not follow it, there are fines as well as lack of or the order that you may not participate in the future. So we have to follow those things rather closely. I do have concerns when we travel though, but I hope that those concerns will be mitigated by the fact that the rules are so clearly stated.
I didn't mean to muddy the water. But
Oh no,
I
it's
just
the truth. Yeah, that's a problem.
All right.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir. You have a good day.
Yes, sir.
You didn't have anything?
No, sir.
All right, VDOT will not be with us this morning. If you've got anything for VDOT, we'd like to bring it up now so Morgan can make a list to give them. I have one concern, I guess, with the Clarksville bottom with that spring that has seemed to have popped out of that bank. They could do some ditch work.
You've already notified them about Welford Wharf,
Welford Dwarf and Cobble Park.
Park,
Yes, sir.
because that was starting to flood again this morning.
Everybody was this morning. David, you have anything? Richard?
Yes, several citizens that travel to Sharps Road concerned about the ditches being so full, and I know today is not a day to judge it, but, when it wasn't raining so much, they just wondered if we get something done to pull the ditches or make it water flow a little bit better.
You have something?
I've already talked to Morgan.
He wants to mention it now.
I'd like to see center line painted on, Calvary Church Road. Maybe 4 miles, maybe, Richmond. And, some of these foggy mornings that I've been driving those roads, it's pretty bad.
Thank
In a long-term plan.
Yeah, we'll notify VDOT of these.
Okay.
They were planning to be here. They're having some flooding issues that they couldn't get away from.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Anything else before we move on? All right. Sheriff, you have the floor.
Good morning. Our office has dispatched 785 calls for service in October. We've served 241 civil papers with 44 warrants served and 29 arrests. This office has issued 35 traffic summonses in the month of October. On our animal control call for service, we had 33. Our animal intake for August was 9. Current dogs in the shelter are 7 at this time. Our adoptions and returns for August was 10. And at this time, this weekend alone, we adopted 6 animals just this weekend. So everything's going fine with that.
Well, thank you. A citizen called me about his missing dog last week. And I called here, we talked to the animal shelter, and they hadn't seen it. Then they called me back within about 15 minutes, and they had found his dog. He went there and got it. It was a happy reuniting between two people.
They
Anyway, thank
tend to be
y'all.
like kids.
Yeah, thank y'all. It was a real problem. He was really impressed. Thank y'all did that.
Anything else for the sheriff? Thank you, sir. You have a good day. All right, Ms. Brand will not be with us this morning. Just quick, if you would like to hit a couple numbers.
Yeah, overall, the month of October was a good month for collections for the treasurer's office, with both sets of tax bills being out at this point in time. Cash in the Richmond County checking account, $444,058. Half-I account, $3,825,172. When you think about the additional revenue anticipation note the county took out this past year, you think about the CARES Act money that we have, and you think about some of the money that we have from our track project that the school board's doing, you will see that we're about $2.3 million above where we were last year in cash. So that number of about $4.3 million in cash, while it sounds really, really good, just understand we've got some things in there that we don't generally have, that will be spent or reimbursed back to the federal government through CARES, whichever way that goes at some point in time. General fund balance of $2,076,000. And then as you look on your second page and you'll see your uncollected taxes, both the real estate and personal property at this point have been billed. And I think Ms. Delano will give you a report in a second on your personal property. So your uncollected at this point in your 2020 taxes is $7,386,662.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Like Morgan said, I'm here today to discuss the personal property statistics for 2020 compared to 2019. I had laid some figures on your stations before the meeting, so I'm going to talk about, first chart is the tax dollars. You'll notice that overall an increase of roughly $58,000 compared to last year. That PPTRA percentage did change a little bit, so that's why you don't see that big of a change in that. Next chart is values only, not tax. All of those changes were to the good for the county. So no red this year, which is great. The next page, if you flip over, is public service. We saw the most change with our public service figures this year compared to last. Mainly Dominion had some misreporting in the past that they've corrected, and then they have also brought in new equipment summer. So that's why you'll see such a big increase with our public service this year.
That's too good.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
You have a great day.
You too.
Ms. Hope?
Good morning. A few things to share. From the building side of things, with the county in October, we had 30 projects to begin, collected fees of $4,007, with total construction cost of $1,335,000. There were 14 zoning permits issued and 2 land disturbing permits issued. The Anti-Litter Committee did meet in October and discuss litter programs that VDOT is promoting. Many thanks to David Beal for joining us at that meeting and trying to catch our group up on their litter collection efforts. In order to continue promoting the Adopt a Highway program, the Anti-Litter Committee has agreed to adopt a stretch of Route 360, so we'll be taking care of that soon. And then the group also has a tentative cleanup planned for November 18th. The Household Hazardous Waste event was held on October 24th, and Northern X Soil and Water reports that that was the largest event thus far with Richmond County. Total number of participants was 76, with 12,232 pounds of household hazardous waste collected, as well as 1,582 pounds of electronics were collected. So I think that was a busy day for them, and we appreciate their help with that event. From the Wetland Board, we do have a Wetland Board meeting scheduled for November 19th, and that will be to discuss an application for permission to construct multiple timber growings with adjacent spurs at a property at 416 Rapid Point Road. Lastly, the Planning Commission met on Monday, November the 9th. A public hearing was held to discuss a rezoning on Simonson Road from residential agricultural to residential mixed use. This would allow for the construction of a multifamily dwelling unit. The rezoning was recommended 6-1 with some conditions attached. And if possible, I would like to schedule a public hearing for the board to hear this rezoning in December. And I think that date would be December the 10th.
Okay. Could I have a motion to set that meeting?
So moved.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And that's all I have, unless there's questions.
Okay, would you, or could you look into, means we're not gonna have a tire day. I know a lot of our adjacent counties are going to, the household hazard thing twice a year at the cost and whatever that we would have to do, and if, Soil and Water would participate, or just a thought.
We can certainly look into that, no problem.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Could I just bring up one other thing that I just wanted the board to know? I just wanted the board to know that Hope recently completed a 12-week leadership class through the National Association of Counties called the High Performance Leadership Academy. 12 weeks of webinars, breakouts, group assessments with other local government officials from across the country. A program that was, curriculum was developed in part by General Colin Powell. And so she spent a lot of time on this class over the past 12 weeks and did a lot of the leadership portions and led a lot of the group sessions. So I just wanted the board to know that she had taken that upon herself to do that.
Congratulations.
Very good.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to do that.
Take your job.
She might take my job. Chief?
Good morning. Finally good to be back in front of you all. Been a hiatus here, it feels like. I'm sure you all been happy with the lack of my constant babbling. So I'll get right to it. So for the month of October, Richmond County Department of Emergency Services had 104 calls for service with 65 transports for the month of October. And revenue recovery for the month was $22,480.59. COVID-19 responses for the month of October remained steady with no noticeable increase in positive cases. We remain in good supply of PPE and cleaning supplies as well. We are continuing to see more patient refusals than normal due to the pandemic and the fear of catching the virus at the hospitals. I was talking to Mr. Pemberton this morning. As of this morning, Richmond County has 368 total cases. That's total since March. 14 hospitalizations and 4 deaths. But one thing I would like to point out is about 268 of those cases were all institutionalized population, be it a few at the nursing home, a majority at the correctional center. I think we did have one confirmed finally at the regional jail, which I'd like to commend the supervisor there because he's done a fantastic job of keeping his population separated until he knows that they're not carriers of the virus. So he's done a fantastic job down there. But out of those, like I said, 368, you can figure about 100 of those, maybe a little less, are community spread. So you start looking at Westmoreland County now has 369 total cases. I think Northumberland's now is in the 290 range, Lancaster as well. So the citizens of Richmond County have done a fantastic job with heeding warnings, social distancing, doing what they have to do, taking health department recommendations when we know there's an issue in places. Businesses as well have done a fantastic job. So that's, the numbers look bad when you look at the computer screen. So I just wanted to break it down that the county's done a fantastic job and citizens have done a fantastic job of taking this thing seriously. So with that, the crews did attend the drive-through trunk or treat at the elementary school on Halloween, hand out candy to all the kids. We take pride in our community activism and being out in the community. We do a lot of PR stuff. We like to be out there so that people see us on a positive note. They shouldn't just see us when it's their worst day of their life and have to call 911. They should see us out there being part of the community. We take very good pride in that. And it was nice to be able to get out there and kind of have that positive interaction again. Captain McDaniel's EMT class will be starting soon. We do have a lot of interest in the class. We will most likely have to limit the size of the class this year due to social distancing restrictions for classroom portions. Something that we've kind of just started rolling the dice on and talking about. And we'll know by interest if we decide to do something a little different with in-class versus virtual, and kind of like what the school is doing and switching if there's that big of an interest. But I think we're looking at about 10, we're limiting the class to about 10 students this year in class. So hopefully this stuff just goes away sooner than later. But we're getting this class ready to be able to do virtual instruction as well. So that's something that's new. Captain Dan did a lot of virtual instruction last year. She do it at the station through her iPad or computer or whatever. But we're trying to move forward to where we have a little bit better venue for that kind of instruction. We'll run over our numbers. Like I said, Administrator Quick and I have, seen a pretty decent drop in our calls, and even when you look at our call to transport ratios, that's where I get the refusal. Whether we have 2,000 calls a month or 2 calls a month, looking at how many of those calls do we transport, and that number is down due to where the refusals are. I mean, they do not want to go to the hospital if they aren't in critical need to go. So we are seeing a large increase in that. As I said, we had our monthly call volume is 104. Year-to-date call volume is 1,023. At 65 transports with a year-to-date of 621 transports. Calls and transports in District 1 was 64 calls, 39 transports. District 2 was 32 calls with 23 transports. And District 3 was 2 calls, no transports. So, Sharon Sanders, yeah. Tell them up in Newland, they were doing something really right, but they just aren't calling. So our county average time on scene still remains under the benchmark of 10 minutes. It's at 9 minutes, 9.39 minutes. Time to on scene in District 1 is 6.17 minutes, District 2, 14.25 minutes, and District 3 was 21 minutes even. We had 31 ALS calls, 34 BLS calls, 1 flyout. We called for mutual aid assist 1 time, and were called for assistance 6 times with 3 transports. If anybody has any questions, I'd love to entertain.
I have a question, it might be for Captain McDaniel more than you. You're setting your EMT class up for 10 students. How many that begin a class finish the class all the way through and pass their state exams?
That's kind of a tough one to answer. There is a fair amount of attrition early in the class. I would say if I had, 10 to 15 students, I'd probably be looking at 3 or 4 of them to drop once they figure out that this isn't an easy class and that there actually is a time commitment involved. We've had an issue these last 2 classes where I was doing a hybrid course, which is where they do a lot of the cognitive learning online, and then they need to do the skills portion with me in person. And we've had a number of people that pass the class, but I'm having trouble getting them to go test right away. And I don't know why that is. I have asked. Sometime one person tells me, well, I got pregnant, another person was, I got a different job. So there's a number of reasons why they're passing the class, but then not actually going through with the testing. This year, we decided to increase the cost of the class by $100 to $600 and refund $100 to anybody that tests within 30 days and passes their EMTs to their certification. So I'm hoping that will be a little bit of a motivator to get them to go ahead and test. So it's, my class is above average right now as far as the statistics within the state of those that go on to pass and test, but it's not as high as I think it should be. I think there should be more. So we're trying to kind of figure that out, and hopefully the refund to the student will give them a little bit of motivation to go ahead and test quickly once the class is done. If they wait, they forget. I mean, when you're not doing it, you forget, and so it's difficult to pass if they wait too long.
Thank you. That answered my question. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to say, I thank y'all for y'all's great jobs and your award. I feel a little bit bad, y'all didn't get a stand ovation.
That's okay.
So I'd like to do that.
Thank you.
Mitch, can you tell us, at this point in time, we've got 2 full-time employees that have started from the ground up with Tammy's class and have moved into full-time providers for Richmond County. And then we've got, say, 5 to 7 that are on our part-time roll.
So, and recently, as you have talked about, we, with the COVID, and other departments doing things with their part-time work, allowing their full-timers to work part-time, or for whatever reason, time constraints at their full-time jobs. We're losing a few through attrition, and then we're very successfully, filling those spots back. And recently, this past week, we had some interviews, and 2 of the young men that came to interview with us were fresh out of class. Both were RCC students, I think.
one was, one took in Colonial Beach.
Colonial Beach. So both of them were outside of our program and they were looking for part-time work. They want to get into EMS, but the problem being that they've never been released by an operational medical director as EMS physician now. And being a career department, we can't hire somebody that's really not released to practice at their skill level. For us, being a small department, tight budget, we just can't afford to always have that person on, having to pay a third person on one truck. But with having that auxiliary program, the ability to offer that, both of those young men signed up to join our auxiliary, to volunteer their time to the county, for us to train them up, to get them precepted, to get them released, that will then make them a viable candidate for part-time employment. And we've had great success. Brian, would you stand up, please, sir, because while you're here. Brian McKinney's our newest full-time employee, came on with us a couple months ago. He took the place of the vacant position on B shift. And he is one of our, what we like to call success stories. From class to auxiliary to part-time and now to full-time. And I think anytime you can have that kind of farm system. Thank you, Ryan. Sorry to put you on the spot, I mean, how else, to run a department and have that kind of ability to be able to get these kind of people that just, they fall right in. I mean, it's not day one for them when they start a full-time position. It's just the day one of a full-time position. They know what they're doing. They know the trucks. They know the community. So we're very fortunate. I will say that when Morgan brought that to us, we were a little skeptical. We were a lot skeptical. But we promised him we give it 100% of making it go. We followed, his plan he laid out, and it is very successful. Very successful. It's a model for agencies around here.
Okay, any more questions, comments? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We don't have anything in fire department.
No, sir.
Haley? Excuse me.
Good morning, everyone. So we're just gonna go over some of the numbers, from the election that we just had. So overall, we had about a 75% turnout, which is about 3% higher or 500 more voters than we had in 2016. About 2,300 of those being early voters. So we had about 42% of Richmond County residents vote early, either in my office or by mail. And so it really helped on election day with our poll workers not being so completely overwhelmed, because 75% is, an unprecedented amount for our poll workers to have to deal with. So everything overall went very well. We had a lot of compliments from the citizens of Richmond County about really liking the setup for districts 1, 2, and 3 at the high school. So Dr. Smith and Principal Ferguson really were key players in helping me coordinate that and set all of that up, from parking to how the gym was divided up and set up. So a lot of our success there is certainly attributed to their assistance in that. We also had a lot of compliments for Farnham. I don't know if any of you voted on election day in District 4 that saw how Farnham was set up, but in the past, we've gotten a lot of complaints about it's just a very small meeting room, a small facility. So in order to abide by those social distancing guidelines and kind of spread things out a little more with a higher turnout and more workers, we actually utilized the truck room. So it was more of like a flow system. So everything was kind of set up in the truck room. You entered in from that side door, and then you actually went out of the meeting room door. So it was kind of just like a continuous line through rather than people going back and forth. So we had a lot of people who were very pleased to see that. So that might be something that we continue to do moving forward in District 4. District 5, that was set up like it usually is. We didn't have any complaints for District 5.
And all of our polling places were equipped with the temperature monitoring systems that we have here at the front door. And those were monitored by poll workers or whoever happened to be standing at the door. Everyone, as far as citizens were concerned, most people did their part with social distancing and wearing masks, and were very cognizant of the current situation with COVID. So, we had a lot of new poll workers. Most of them, probably 90% of them, were county employees. So a lot of our county employees came and took the class and were able to help out on election day, which worked out very well because obviously, we all see citizens in and out all the time, and a lot of people actually worked in the district where they lived or where they voted. So I think that it was a very positive experience for the county employees. I hope a very long day, but I think overall everyone had a great day and everything went on without a hitch. So we had a pretty easy day.
Anyone? Haley, on behalf of the board, I'd like to commend you on the job that you've done. It was, I know it had to be a trying time voting the way it was done. Your people, your volunteers and your staff, we are deeply appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I understand Morgan said Richmond County was the first to report.
We were. That's always my main goal, trying to get those numbers up as soon as we can. So we had a little hiccup at the end, but yeah, we got them all in on time. So
Right.
thank y'all very much.
You have anything, Morgan, you'd like to add?
No, I mean, like Haley said, we did have county employees, that did sign up to do this. Hope worked 401, Liz worked, 30, what did you work? 101. Aaron, you did 501.
Tammy worked. Tammy was working too.
I got really good at saying, second door on the left.
She directed people in the high school.
Oh,
So as people
okay.
came in, she
She was there. Denise
so.
Dunaway was 301.
Mhm. We had 2 dispatchers that worked in Varnum.
Right. No,
So yeah, it was definitely a team effort. I think we pulled from every county office in Richmond County, but yeah, it went on very well. And I'd also like to thank Morgan, and the maintenance staff for all of their help because, setting all of that up and breaking it down is not fun. And I really do appreciate all of their assistance.
Well, to move 3 polling places,
Yes.
you did an outstanding job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Hope, would you, is there any public comments? Okay, no one? All right, we'll move into old business. CARES Act.
Yes, sir.
Nonprofit grant.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. You've got 2 applications in your board packet that came in after the October board meeting. One from the Richmond County Community Support Group. The other one requesting $4,500 in funds from our nonprofit funds from the CARES Act. The other application from the Saddlery Foundation asking for a $5,000 award as their both organizations, as we've seen in the past, the fundraising activities have obviously been slowed. Both of these organizations are working for the county, so I did want to present them to you. This program so far has including these applications, if the board were to consider these, that would be $132,250 that the county had awarded in this nonprofit program. And I believe that's 19 of our local nonprofits that have applied for that. So this program through the CARES Act really went over well. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
If there's no questions, could I have a motion to approve?
On this, the Richmond County Support Group, I see they asked for 4,500. Is there any way we could, because there's other things with this, seeing the numbers are increasing on this COVID thing and what they do, is there any way we could increase that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, it's up to you as a board. I mean, grant award, maximum grant award up to $7,500. Certainly the board could do that.
We didn't consider that for anybody else.
Okay, I just throw it out there because
I'd hate to start and then somebody come back, why didn't you increase mine?
okay, that's fair.
That's my only problem with that.
Do you think there'll be another round of this, and if given point if this continues to increase like it is? More?
I can tell you 4 or 5 different scenarios it could play out in this. I mean, this obviously, at this point in time, expires the end of December. I know that Congress wanted to get through this election to figure out if they were going to extend this money through December the 31st or not. I've talked to several people that know much more than I do about that level of government. They say that there is certainly a will from both the Republicans and the Democrats in Congress to continue this money. They know it's needed. It's just the politics of getting together on both sides and being able to come up with that agreement. And you know how difficult that is. So, is it possible that there's more rounds of funding for the nonprofits? There is. It's possible.
That's all I just thought I'd throw that there to see if we could do that. But you made a good point. So you look for a motion?
Wait a minute,
How much were we allocated?
For this program?
No, just overall.
$1,574,000.
And where are we in allocating it at?
If you go behind tab number 9,
I'm sorry.
if you go behind
You're right.
tab number 9, can you pull that up? Okay. So if you look on the screen, you'll see that year to date through October 31st, 2020, we've spent $864,353. That's the far right column.
Yeah.
If you go to the next spreadsheet, you'll see that this is kind of my projections that I put together for you. So you'll see the original allocation that we had put towards this funding. You'll see the year-to-date expenses, and then on the far right column, you'll see the projected expenditures.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it certainly does.
Now, can I bring up one other thing before we do that? We did receive a third application this past month. This application actually came in after the board packets went out, and I didn't include it. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. This application was from Mount Zion Baptist Church. We have not funded churches in this nonprofit grant. We did fund the Methodist Church's food pantry, which is a separate 501c3 organization that provides a service. But as far as just providing a church that grant funding, we haven't traditionally done that. And as I've gotten calls from churches asking about that funding, I have told them that really wasn't part of the application. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that I guess I'm gonna contact Mount Zion and let them know that was not the intention of this. I mean, if you've got any other thoughts about it, problem is you open it up to just churches. I mean, you're talking about probably 60 of them within this county, from small to large. 60 might be a little bit high, but 30. I got 30 churches in the county.
They're asking just for the church only.
It's applied for as Mount Zion Baptist Church, and it's just an application for the church. It's not a separate organization that the church runs on behalf of. If the church had an organization that they ran like a food pantry or something else that was separate of the church's funds, we would definitely consider it like we did with the Methodist Church.
You're talking about Mount Zion and Downs, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I think they were involved in the Unity Page School and the Sharps Culture Center down at Sharps. And I didn't know if it was just for the church, then I got you, but I didn't know if it would go in the other direction or not.
No, sir. From their application, it's just talking about church services and and church fundraisers.
Okay, still need a motion to accept the two that we,
So moved.
all right, thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's all you need on that.
Yes, sir.
Item 6, this was a carryover from last month, application process for board appointments.
Yes, sir, carryover from last month. In your board packet, I have attached the application that was presented at the end of the October meeting, which asks some questions regarding education, employment status, list your current and past involvement within the county, and please indicate why you wish to serve Richmond County and what assets you may bring. I know there were some issues and some questions about that application. Was it too detailed? We struggle to get people to join our boards and commissions as it is. So essentially what I did is I've included a second application, which is a one-pager, and all this application asks for is your name, your address, which district you live in, an email address, a phone number, a date, the board or committee that you wish to be considered for, and then your employment status, and then a signature page. So I will be happy to answer any questions you have. Again, we're going to be working on that document that is going to list out every board and commission that the county has and do a 1 or 2 paragraph description of each of those boards so that as people are approached about serving, they'll have an idea of what some of them may be, some of the lesser known ones may be.
Well, I guess I started the conversation on this. I have no problem with the 2-page one that you presented us if somebody comes to us. I think the 1-page one is the one that we should use when we go out and ask somebody, because that's information that the county's gonna need to get in touch with them and all that. I think this is great. And I would certainly, you could use both of them as far as I'm concerned for, if somebody out of the blue comes to you, then that's just my idea.
I only had 2 of them, 2 applications. I think you stick with one or the other. I mean, the general information is definitely a needed thing.
Right.
I agree with that 100%, but, this is my feelings. I don't know if we want to keep both of them in play, do we?
But I hear the cogs grinding.
Well, I can see both. I can see both sides of the, thing, but I kind of lean towards Richard where one application ought to suffice. And, if somebody comes to the county requesting a job, then we get hope to do an informal interview or something, and what they might be bringing to the table.
Like, is there information on the second application that we're gonna need anyway?
On this,
Sitting on the first.
Or the 2-page?
oh, the 2-page application, yes, it asks those same questions about the person. It asks for the board that you wish to be considered. It asks for an education level. It asks for your employment status, current and past involvement within the county, and why you wish to serve. And I guess that application would be something to consider if you had 2 or 3 people that were interested in serving on a position, which from time to time happens with say the planning commission. The planning commission is probably the board, obviously, that meets the most in this county, that has probably the most influence separate of the board of supervisors in this county. So the planning commission is a big time board for this county. You could have a time when you've got a couple people, very qualified people that are interested in serving on that board as one of your appointments. And at that point in time, looking at their assets that they have and what they have done previously in the county could make your decision one way or the other.
suggest that we go with the one-page application and see how that works, and if we need to, add that extra question later on, that's what we do.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Bob. Okay, item 7, IDA building.
You've got, excuse me, in your board packet, an email from Bruce Parrott, an architect with Peretz and Young. This is the firm that we use to design and build our EMS building as well as our animal shelter. And he has come up with a cost estimate of what it would cost to renovate the middle section of the Industrial Development Authority building into a daycare facility for the YMCA. And he has worked with general contractors on getting building costs and price, and he has estimated that to renovate that building, you're looking at $85 a square foot over the course of about 4,200 square foot for a total cost of $360,000 to $400,000 to renovate that building, plus engineering and architectural fees that I think he has estimated at $25,000 to $30,000. Much higher, I think, much higher than we had discussed previously. If we were interested in doing something like that for the YMCA, we could ultimately probably build a facility. Maybe not for that cost, but somewhere in line with that cost. So this was an item that we had discussed back in the spring and summer, and we've got these numbers. Again, these are estimates, not bids. So understand that, estimates, not bids. But I'll be happy to answer any questions about that.
Estimate is doing it for a child care facility, right? Not just renovating it as a usable facility.
This is it.
Specific to a child care.
In his email, he says this type of use, an institutional use, daycare with more than 5 children, with some less than 2.5 years old, that the YMCA proposes as a child care facility. That would require automatic fire sprinkler systems, which the building doesn't have, or it would require that a door be located from each classroom to the exterior of the building, which, again, the way that it would be set up would be a challenging thing to have classrooms, because most of the space is in the middle of the building.
We're using that current space, that 4,200 square feet now for storage.
Yes, sir.
For county equipment, voting machines and.
That place is a fairly valuable space at this point in time for the county. It is being used to store all of our voting equipment. The Salvation Army uses that space annually to organize their presence. The Main Street community uses a portion of that space. The Chamber of Commerce uses a portion of that space. The Richmond County Little League Bingo Association has got items in there. We've got extra desks and office furniture in there that come out of offices, so that when somebody needs a new desk or something, we've kind of got our own little surplus area there, so that we don't buy. So yeah, I mean, the building's getting a great use at the time being.
Well, I was gonna say, if we went, I'm not for spending $400,000 to renovate that, but if we were to do that, what are we gonna do with all this other stuff? We're gonna have to buy more space to store everything we're storing currently, are we not?
Yes, some of those items could go down to the shop area behind the extension office. The problem with that area is it's not climate controlled, so the voting equipment, the Salvation Army that uses it, that stuff would go somewhere else. I mean, as far as some of the stuff at the Main Street, I mean, there's some old furniture. The museum has got some really old furniture that they're storing in there. So I mean, a lot of the stuff does need to have that ability to stay at good temperatures, you know, so that it doesn't get ruined. So yeah, I mean, that would be a good question. I don't know where we would go with it.
I know there's gonna be a slow start, this is where the EMS building would be to the advantage to keep.
All right.
motion?
No, we don't need to do anything, it's just,
Information.
no, we don't do anything, it'll stay just like it is. If we come up with another idea, we'll go back and look at it again if you want. But for right now, we'll just leave it as information only. And we'll move along.
Well, can we talk about the second item that I brought up under the parking lot?
Yeah.
I said in my note to you that is probably something that I'd like the board to look at talking about again. We got an estimate last year to resurface this entire paved area, and the price came in somewhere around $200,000. Again, estimate, not bid. It is in very bad shape. Something needs to be done with that. You're gonna ask how we're gonna pay for it. I don't know, but I can come up with 3 or 4 different ways on how we potentially could. But I think we might be at the point where we're at least going out for bids on resurfacing this entire area so that we know what we're looking at. I mean, we've got the estimate. Mr. Thomas sees it probably more than most of us do. It needs work.
Until the building is marketed, which, we've got several things going on in there, so the parking lot is one of the bigger tools to make the building work and function better and do, along with anything else you do.
I have no problem with you putting out a bid.
I got a question. Why does it have to be blacktop,
As opposed to tar and gravel?
tar and gravel?
If you go down and look, I don't know that it can be patched. It is so much of it is, I'm not an expert on this part of it, so that may be a question that needs to be looked into. I agree with that, but there are so many discrepancies in it as far as big potholes, if you may call them, and cracked up asphalt drainage. It needs to be looked at in that way. I think the drainage is all right the way it's laid out, but it's from neglect for so many years, you know how it gets, or if the road gets that way, or parking lot or what have you, so.
Well,
But that certainly should be an option.
yeah, my thought is not to just gravel and tar over top of it. I mean, from what I've seen of it, it needs to be milled out, and I don't know, it might be more expensive, I don't know.
Well, that's the,
Mill it out, lay it out, put a good base in and just use gravel and tar might be another option as opposed to blacktop.
that's the reason that estimate we received earlier was so expensive, because it digs out, it mills the entire surface. It goes to the low areas, to help the drainage areas. It digs them, it recompacts, it comes back in with base. I mean, it's a full facelift of it. It's not just a come back over top of it and hey, we'll see this thing crack again in 5 years. I mean, it's a complete mill, dig, sub-base, base, top. And that's why it came in at $200,000+ in the estimate.
And two, you may find the parking lot probably is not that it's probably has never been anything put on top of the original asphalt. It's maybe the original asphalt base, if that's proper wordage. So I don't know how much you've got that depth to nail down and do that.
Right.
It was repaid, it's been repaid once since I've been on the board.
Okay.
But I don't know what kind of job we got out of it, but it has been done one time. And obviously didn't hold up that well.
It has that appearance from some of the potholes, you can see like 2 levels. But then again, I don't know much about it. That history of knowing about it, that helps that part of it.
I don't have any problem.
And just because you go out for bid,
Doesn't mean we have to do it.
doesn't mean you accept, but
Too, you gotta take into consideration the traffic is on it too now. It was designed for automobiles, now you got buses, delivery trucks coming and going all the time, so they're a little more heavier vehicular traffic than what probably what we was gonna design for in the beginning.
All right, do we have consensus to let Mr. Quick move forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
you're welcome. Item 8, update on county bucks program.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed on the county bucks program a little bit. I think, excuse me, most of y'all have been keeping up with it throughout the week. We had 42 businesses sign up to be a part of this program, which is wonderful. When we put this out last month and talked about it, the goal for this program was about 25 or 30 businesses. So to get 42 businesses, good local businesses signed up to accept these dollars is really positive. We started pickup on these tickets last Thursday. We ran an event Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We skipped Sunday, and then we did this past Monday and past Tuesday. We have given out a little under 1,200 tickets, coupon books, in that time period. Thursday, Friday, Saturday of last week were fairly slow. People kind of came in and out, and there was a little bit of downtime. That's not the case with this past Monday and Tuesday. I think Tuesday alone, I didn't count it up, but I think Tuesday alone we probably gave out 750 just on Tuesday afternoon from 2 to 7. It was a full parking lot. I think the deputy said something about there being almost some small collisions in the parking lot, but I don't know if anything actually happened. But it was a full house here on Tuesday. Program begins November 14th, ends the end of December. And we are looking to schedule a couple more days to give these tickets out once the program starts. We've got signs that are being made to get to all of our businesses that are going to say something to the effect of county bucks accepted here. Hopefully, there's still a portion of the population that we haven't gotten yet, that hasn't been here yet. So we're going to schedule another date, probably in the next 2 weeks, another one here in this room. And then we'll probably work with the Newland Fire Department and the Farnham Company 2 to try to set up an event one evening after work from say 4 to 7 p.m. in both of those areas of the county, just so that we can say we got there, and so that if there were people that didn't get to Warsaw in those areas, could come to the firehouses a little bit easier. So overall, the program, I'm sure there's some bumps along the way that we're going to have to figure out. But so far the boxes are being checked and the program's moving forward. So you have to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. Item 9, Dominion Multimac Electric broadband.
Yes, in your board packet is just an update. And Mr. Herbert has been sitting in on these management team meetings with us. We've been doing these monthly with the co-op and Dominion and All Points Broadband. So you've got an update in here from Jimmy Carr talking about this broadband program. You will notice under number 2, the VATI grant. This is a big component of our process. And you'll see on the second paragraph, this application, which would help complete the initiative and bring broadband to currently unserved locations in a timely manner, was challenged by Atlantic Broadband in an effort to prevent the initiative from being funded. So essentially Atlantic Broadband challenged the grant application because they thought that there was overlapping coverage into their area. I received a letter 2 days ago from Jerry Davis with the Planning District Commission that DHCD has ruled that Atlantic Broadband's challenge is, I don't know the right word, but wrong. Atlantic Broadband's challenge is not being upheld. So Atlantic Broadband was wrong in their accusations that we had duplicated coverage areas. So that was a good win on that grant. There's a citizen survey out there that we have posted on Facebook and put in the newspaper and trying to get it out as much as possible. This is a survey that's working to help All Points Broadband identify the unserved locations in the county better. So hopefully our citizens are doing that, and we need them to do that. But other than that, you see the project timeline down at the bottom that Jimmy has provided. Other than that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, but again, we feel very optimistic about this project moving forward.
Any questions? Bill, you have anything to add?
No, I think Morgan covered it all.
Okay. All right, we'll move along. To item 10, pedestrian trail.
Yeah, just a little bit of good news here. We've been talking about this project for a year, and we have been anticipating funding on this project, but I can officially tell you 100% that we did receive $427,193 from the state of Virginia for this phase 1 of our recreational trail project. That leaves a total project amount of $533,991 with a county match of $106,798, which has been set aside from the sale of property of 2019. There are many items left that we need to complete up front, such as right-of-way acquisition from the adjoining property owners, which we have talked to and just need to get that done. Engineering plans and the bidding process. But again, this is another one of those projects that we've had on the radar for the last couple of years, and we are excited that it was funded, and we're going to move forward with it. So just wanted to bring that to the attention of the board.
Any questions?
I think it's great.
All right, item 11, VPSA VRA bond refunding.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring these back. We had talked about these over the past couple of months, but I just wanted to kind of update the board on the results. There's no action that is needed. Start with the VPSA bond. The VPSA bond was a 2012 note we took in the principal amount of $9 million for the renovations and construction at the high school. This bond, the Virginia Public School Authority took it upon themselves this past fall, with the interest rates being where they are, to refund this. This is a big pooled bond, so we've got $9 million in it. This bond could be worth $150 or $250 million. I'm not sure which this one is, but it's a big pooled bond. But the good news in this is over the course of the next probably 12 or 13 years, it's going to save the county $332,933, which is you'll see that on the bottom right of that slide on your TV. The first couple of years, we see about a $7,000 or $8,000 decrease in our payments, and then that goes to $21,000 in year 3 of reduced payments, down to about $28,000. This will be done as a credit. It will not reduce the amount of debt we pay. What will happen is we'll pay the debt service just like it originally was, and then we'll be issued a credit as soon as we pay that fund. So a $332,000 savings over the next 13 years is a really good thing. So then with your VRA loan that we did to replace our $2 million union note for the EMS building, that sold at the end of October, and it sold well within the parameters that we had set at 1.6%, ended up selling at 1.2%. The thing about this bond is it's really hard to tell what your actual savings are, because in order to tell what your actual savings are, you would have to know what the interest rates would be and will be from 2028 to 2033. And that was the main reason for doing the refunding of this bond, was to get rid of that variable interest rate in the last 5 years of this bond that went to whatever the market rate was at the time. So we're at 1.2%. You'll see on the far right column, the difference that Davenport is showing is only $732 over the course of it. But again, you really don't know. You really don't know. Well, we can go back and look at it in 2028 through 2033 and come back and say, hey, this is what we saved by doing this in 2020. But it levels those payments, and we're closing on this on November the 18th. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about either of these.
As long as we're saving money.
Yeah. Any questions, comments before we move on? All right, if not, item 12, our 2021 county goals.
All right. This is an activity that we started doing about 3 years ago, which I know it helps me, and hopefully it helps the board kind of understand where our priorities are as we move forward. A lot of these goals that are in here are not necessarily the same, but they're generally consistent with where they've been in years past because they're goals that we're working on every year. I'm going to just hit on a couple of new ones that I wanted to bring to the attention of the board. And then we can discuss these however you wish if you have any inclusions. If we go to the second page of these goals, fourth bullet point down, you'll see begin the 2023 rewrite of the Richmond County Comprehensive Plan. The most recent comprehensive plan was adopted in 2013. The Virginia State Code requires each locality to rewrite their plan every 10 years. To be done right, this process will be a lengthy process, requiring many sessions of public involvement and the services of an outside consulting group to help the county facilitate the process. So recommend that sometime in 2021, the board put together a comprehensive plan committee. I know this has been done in the past. Last one that was done was prior to 2010. Just a suggestion of how the committee could be designed. But this could always be amended. That would consist of one Board of Supervisors member, 2 members of the Richmond County Planning Commission, 1 member of the Richmond County Wetlands Board, 1 member of the Richmond County Industrial Development Authority, and then 5 citizen members, 1 from each district, to help with this process. Any questions on that comprehensive plan at this time? Okay, all right. The next item down is another, yes.
Back on the goals.
Sure.
Before we leave that, on the first page, we've got improved IT network for all county functions, and I think that was the software we talked about, trying to get Jennifer and Christy and Chris and Denise, everybody on the same thing. Where are we on that project, and how close are we to being?
Well, it's a software that, to put it a little bit more bluntly, it's a software that we've been talking about since about 2016, maybe even before that. And we are to the point that we are ready to RFP this and to put this out. Again, this is you see we've got $160,000 saved for this project. This is a $200,000 to $250,000 project to fully replace all of the IT networks within the county for reassessments, collections, accounts payable, human resources, payroll, you name it.
Right.
It's a big transition. It's a scary transition. It's one that really scares me. It's I tell people all the time, I would rather build a new facility than rebuild our IT networks. If you talk to counties throughout, there are a lot of horror stories in counties abandoning their old system. The old system is a known, as much as people understand how inefficient and inefficient that these old systems are. These systems are known by the employees that are working with them. Jennifer knows her system. Christy knows her system. Chris Jett knows his systems. And it's hard to, even though you know your new system is going to be better, it's really hard to make that transition because you've got to learn that. And it's really easy for these employees, and you hear it in other counties all the time, it's really easy for employees to abandon a new project. They get this brand new $250,000 software package. 6 months into it, they say, this is not something we're willing to learn. This is too difficult for us to do. And then gradually they start reverting back to the old assessment pieces, the old collection pieces, because it's known and it's easy. And so in order to do this and do it the right way, everybody has to understand. Jennifer's office has to 100% buy in that this program is what we need. Treasurer's office, Denise's office, Chris's office. The problem with some of these softwares is they're really good in some components. Take company ABC. It could be really good on the assessment side. It could be top-notch assessment side program that Jennifer's office absolutely thinks this is wonderful. We can really work with this. You look at the receiving side, you look at the collection side of it that Christie's office might see, and they might say, there's no way we're gonna like this system. And so, and I'm not saying that we're in that process, I'm just saying that is the potential there. So to find that system that works for all of the functions at 100% efficiency, it's tough. And so that's where the RFP process comes in. We've had several webinars in this room with those offices, with everybody together, getting day-long seminars from these companies showing what their products are. And we get together and we talk and we say, well, we really like this component, but we don't like this component. So that was a really long answer to where we are, but it needs to be done. It's going to be done. I'd rather build a new building. Building is easier than IT. So
That answered my question.
Let's see. If we could go back to page 2, if you go to the bullet point under the comprehensive plan, an idea that I've been batting around, I wanted to throw it to the board to see if something we wanted to consider. What I have here is hold district meetings in all 5 districts in the spring of 2021, an event or something called Bringing the County to You. This would be an opportunity for key county leaders to meet with the residents from all across the county to present the top county initiatives that are going on, as well as answer questions, hear concerns, hold general conversations between the leaders and residents. So it would kind of be a yearly town hall thing that the county would start doing. Let's say a week or two in February, where the county administrator and that board member from that district, as well as the school superintendent, and I guess why I got to thinking about this a little bit is we'll have a new school superintendent starting in February. And getting out to different areas in the county and providing an hour or 2-hour session for those types of people, planning commission members, anybody that wants to join, to come in and just sit down and be able to talk with the residents of that area that maybe don't come to Warsaw or come to the board meetings. Just a little get to know you thing. Just town halls, if you look at counties a lot of times, and you'll see town halls in years of election year. In years of election year, hey, we're going to come to you. But what happens in those other 3 years? A lot of those other 3 years, you don't do it, and then you go back to the districts, I guess, in election year. So it's just kind of an idea I was throwing out there to see if it was the board was interested in trying for a year.
I certainly think it would be very, very good. I tried to do that a little bit myself, and I called it the community chat, and I went there, and we brought some of the staff from the county in to answer questions.
We did that at the cultural center, right?
At the cultural center, and I thought we had a very good response, so I think we'll give that a shot. I believe bringing government to the people for convenience. And a lot of people don't want to come and say and talk, and they feel it's a little more different atmosphere when you go to them.
All right. The next bullet point just under that is just a simple, successfully complete the 2021 redistricting process. That'll be a process that will start this coming spring. It'll depend on when the census information. I know that's a little bit delayed because of the virus, but that'll be something that'll be big for us in 2021 is going back and redrawing district lines based off of populations. Broadband, another one at the very bottom, and this kind of went in with some of the stuff that we had talked about with the solar project, but county cell phone tower expansions, work to study existing cellular and data coverage within the county to determine areas that need improvement. and then work to establish ideal location for a tower in the Newland area of the county. And then a new one that we're including this year, we haven't included in the last, it's the last bullet point, and it's probably shouldn't be the last bullet point, probably could be the first one, because, you know, working with our county employees through training, encouragement, support, and necessary resources, you know, they're one of our most important components that we have at the county level. They're the people that the citizens interact with every day, and we want them to put a good face on for the county. So, you know, maybe consider conducting a professional salary study at some point in the future to gain a better understanding of our employee compensation compared to our neighbors. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about these. I'm not asking you to approve them today. If it's something that you want to continue to review a little bit throughout November and come back in December to do, I think we've done that in the past. But I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I think you got plenty of goals here to work on.
All right, we'll just put this on next month's agenda to, if anybody's got any changes they want to make, or we'll approve this and move forward with it.
All right.
All right, you ready to move on to new business?
Yes, sir.
Go Virginia project application.
Yeah, it's just a quick FYI on an application that we've made to Go Virginia. Can you pull up the drawing? Yeah, this is kind of what we're looking to do. So this is an application that we're going to be requesting. This is a $574,000 project. And what you're seeing here, this is the 13-acre parcel along Route 3 and Main Street. And what you're seeing is a proposed turn lane, a right turn lane coming in off of Route 3 into this site with a commercial entrance. And then at this point in time, the project would really just stub off. It would just get into this parcel and stub off. The infrastructure you see in light gray would just be future plans. It would be proposed future plans and maybe a rough grading of that area to create that. What we're trying to do is we need to get entrance into this site to make it an attractive site for development. But we don't want to spend more than we need to, because there's a potential that a business could want all of this acreage. You see that we have kind of divided it into 4 lots at this time of 1.1. A 3.1, a 2.5, a 3.6, and a 3.1. But it's possible that this entire 13 acres could go with one organization. So we just need to get into this property for the time being. The application, we had a pre-application phone call yesterday, on Tuesday for about an hour. And our application is due by the end of December. So we've still got some time to go on this, but this is kind of where we're going at this point in time with this. This does include stormwater management, water and sewer expansions, curb and gutter, those types of things.
Why is the only proposed entrance off of the bypass? I realize that the one on Main Street would just be a traffic hazard.
Right. The reason for the one entrance, the main entrance. Now, I'm not saying that there might not at some point in time be an entrance that does come off of Hamilton Boulevard. But I think what we've got to remember is this is property that we're looking for to be more commercial in nature, more industrial in nature. And so what our plan would be to really segregate the Hamilton Boulevard homes from this piece of property, so that with a good layer of screening over there on that top portion of this drawing, and then really bringing the access off of the 4-lane bypass. The main street reason is because there's not enough room. There's not enough room between Hamilton Boulevard
Yeah, I realize that
and Route
just
3.
caused a traffic nightmare.
So yeah, I mean it's just.
I'm just asking a question.
No, I understand. It's possible that at some point in time, a small non-industrial access point could come in off of Hamilton. kind of like you see the co-op has. When you look at the co-op's entrance, they have a big commercial entrance off of Route 3. They've got the turn lane that they built, and then they've got the big ingress egress. They do still have a smaller entrance location over off of Hamilton so they can get back and forth to their main offices. Something like that could be in the future.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Item 14, battery storage.
Yes, this is a topic I just wanted to bring to your attention just to get your feedback on and get your direction on. We have recently begun receiving calls regarding battery storage. What is battery storage? Battery storage is a major storage component that is coming with the new natural energy push that's coming, your solar and your wind. And battery storage components are large storage facilities that store power during times of minimal demand, and they release power into the grid during times of excessive demand. Power plants of the past, I guess, were able to turn on and off a little bit differently than your natural energy producers such as wind and solar can do. So there are times where you've got excess demand, and there's times you've got excess capacity. And so the battery storage component is coming, and it's coming because of the solar component. The way that our ordinance currently reads, there are a couple ways that it currently reads. We had a small conversation at the Planning Commission meeting on Monday night about this item. But currently our solar ordinance, our standalone ordinance that the county adopted in 2016, does not include battery storage or storage. It just includes the solar side of things. There is a component of our ordinance in A1, agricultural zoning, that does allow what's called facilities necessary for the rendering of public utilities. A company that wanted battery storage could argue that within our zoning ordinance already, it's a place for it. But I think if it's something that we want to consider, if the county wants to consider battery storage as a special exception in this county, much like we do solar, an ordinance amendment needs to be drafted either to go in our existing solar ordinance or to stand alone of our existing solar ordinance. Right now, if somebody applied for this type of thing, they would have to fill out a 2 or 3 page application with the county, submit their money, and get it in. If you remember, when you got your applications that the solar companies provided, you got binders that were 200 pages thick. They had environmental studies, they had economic studies, they had traffic impact studies, they had a lot of studies that the county requires them to have. At this point in time, we don't really have that for the battery storage. Now, the battery storage does have a negative component to it that I don't know if it's completely been fixed over the last couple of years. But these batteries generally are lithium ion, which I know have a fire causing or an explosive type thing, and Chief Paulette might know a little bit more about lithium ion batteries than I do, but maybe he doesn't. There was a big issue out in Phoenix, Arizona in 2017 where one of these battery plants caught on fire, blew up, exploded, did something like that. And there were several firefighters and first responders hurt because they did not understand what it was that they were fighting. Since then, I think the standards have changed pretty considerably to allow a lot of, or require a lot of self-suppression systems in these types of things, better training for your first responders. So anyway, this is, it's in conjunction with the solar that's coming, but not completely. We have an application that's pending. Well, not pending. We don't have the application yet from a developer for a battery power facility, but we know that it's coming soon, with the location being adjacent to the Dominion substation in Indian Field. They want to, because these things don't necessarily have to go at solar plants. You're seeing them as a component of solar a lot, but they can be anywhere really to get power on and off of the grid, stored on and off of the grid. So it's a question that we just need to understand. Is it something that we want to consider in this county by special exception? And if so, an ordinance amendment would need to be drafted and brought back.
Without having a whole lot of knowledge of it, I would think and we don't know what farms are going, solar farms or solar gardens is what I've been hearing last. Solar gardens. Anyway, by special exception would allow when these, or if they are approved solar farms or gardens, to have these be able to place somewhere in their lineup.
Yeah.
Instead of, and I think special exception would be the way to go.
Yeah, I certainly, you don't want it by right. You don't want it by right. You need some control over it.
I think special exception because then that gives people a chance to know what's going on too.
But shouldn't we ask the planning commission to look into this and see what the ins and outs of goods and bads and start drafting on that ordinance?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was ultimately my recommendation to y'all in here. I say it may be a good idea to send this item to the planning commission for study and have them make a recommendation to the board of supervisors. Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately where it would need to go. I don't know that you're deciding today to draft this thing. I think you're right. I mean, I think you want the planning commission to
Certainly send it to them and see what they come up with and go from there. Whether we accept it or we deny it.
I think that's the appropriate path for it.
I agree. I just was saying,
All right,
it's just so early into the stages of all this that I don't know how to make a call.
we definitely need somebody to look into it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you want consensus, just turn it over to them?
Yes.
Okay. That's all you need for that?
That's all I need.
All right, item 15, county employee appreciation lunch. I asked Morgan to put this in here, had some kind of idea one time that, because of COVID, we couldn't do the luncheon, and it seemed to be really extremely well accepted that maybe we could work something out with a restaurant where we could pick up the tab or something to give everybody a certificate to let them go to just not meaning that we got to do the daily, but just because it's here. The daily is up and at the end of a certain given time, we just pick up the bill and pay for it. Morgan has come up with some other ideas, so I'll let him.
Which idea was that?
The county book thing.
Well, I had mentioned to the chairman a couple of days ago when we were together. He was talking about, we're gonna be providing a bonus for our employees, probably the first week of December, for all of our full-time and I don't think my mic's working. All of my full-time and part-time employees. This could be included in there. I think I made the suggestion maybe we could give each of our employees a booklet of the county bucks. If you live in the county, as it is, you're eligible for a book. But we've got a lot of employees that aren't in the county. Within that, you've got places of shopping and eating and other things. That was just an idea to go along with the chairman's idea of providing that lunch. And honestly, if we did it through the county bucks, it would be paid for through the CARES Act. Because we
give more flexibility to the person who receives.
yeah, they would have plenty of flexibility.
Yeah.
Plenty of flexibility.
Down. If we got 42 businesses.
Well, we'd also discussed he's gonna write up the letter to go with this, this is in place of your county luncheon and the things that he did, the recognition and all that would be in the letter too. And hopefully next year we'll be able to go back to
the county lunch, we enjoyed doing it. Hope and I had talked about it a month or two ago about maybe providing some type of lunch at the EMS field and doing box lunches or something for the employees. But I think that passed and everything was still going on. I mean, I think it was a great experience to get out there and cook and have it there and have everybody together and recognize our employees that have been with us for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. This idea would continue that tradition just a little bit differently.
So Morgan, what about the hybrid groups like soil and water or social services?
Social services would
They were
certainly
invited
be,
last year.
Okay.
yeah, social services is county employees. Soil and water is not county employees. Ag extension is not county employees.
Okay,
Oh, they'll,
just wanna look after my people.
I understand.
they're on the list. So what, give them a book, give them 2 tickets,
I'll
give
give them a
them
book.
the book.
Give them the book.
Okay.
The book's already printed, correct? I mean,
All of them are printed. Yes, sir. All of them are printed.
no extra cost for that.
No, sir.
You write the little note and add that with it and give everybody the book.
So maybe-
Book, bonus, and note.
Right. You need a motion to,
Yes.
So moved.
okay, thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, John. All right. Ongoing project. We can get back to Bobby's question now. Cal's Act.
Yes. In your board packet is a list of kind of a year-to-date expenditures of where our CARES Act are to date, as well as kind of a future projection, as well as an additional funding request from the public schools. There's on the third page behind number 9, there's a letter from Dr. Smith, pretty much asking if for a couple of additional items, if CARES Act funding allows. As I've done this projection, I have done these projected expenditures based off of the board granting an additional $121,000 to the Richmond County Public Schools. His additional request is about $160,000 or $170,000. I don't know that we can come up with all that. One of the things that is the reason for this request is the schools are dealing with 3 or 4 different pots of CARES Act funding. Some of those pots can be carried over in past December. I told you wrong the other day, Mr. Pemberton, on some of this stuff. But some of these funds can be carried over into the next year or so. Some of these funds cannot be carried over. So as Dr. Smith and I were talking a couple of weeks ago, we were trying to figure out how do we leverage the dollars best that have to be used by the end of this year, by December 31st, in order to free up dollars that can be carried over for emergencies that may arise in the January to June section of the year. If you were to spend that money now and then our CARES Act money cuts off December 30th, we could be in a spot. So by leveraging some of our dollars here, giving the flexibility for the county and the schools in the first 6 months of next year would be helpful. So I guess my recommendation, looking at that request, would be to come up through the CARES Act with an additional $121,000. Their initial allocation was $279,000. They asked for another $160,000. This would give them another $121,000 to be able to implement some of those things. As you see on that far right column that's on the screen right now, you're still at $1,574,000. That's projecting us spending about $100,000 in PPE and other, $60,000 in cleaning supplies, $76,000 in technology, $133,000 in nonprofit support, $25,000 with our regional organizations, $25,000 for workspace improvements, $150,000 for business interruption funding, which is what County Bucks is coming under at this time. Overtime and staffing at $150,000. The town's allocation at $130,000. The school allocation at $400,000, and our broadband contribution at $325,000.
Okay.
So, do you need a motion for this, or?
To allocate that additional $121,000 to the schools.
Probably would be clear, wouldn't it?
I would have. Yeah, I think a motion to do that and to maybe, set their allocation at $400,000 with an additional $121,000. out of this allocation.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay,
That's all I have on that.
all you have on that. Item 17, board appointments.
You have several on your list here. One IDA member still not represented, and we've got 4 planning commission members that either need a reappointment or a new appointment based off of their eligibility for reappointment.
For District 3, J.R. Fiddler has agreed to serve another term, and Peyton Motley has agreed to take the space of Rick Hunt, who is not eligible.
Okay, is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
I'd like to reappoint Mr. Lewis on the planning commission for District 4.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
I'm not quite ready.
Okay,
Not quite.
okay. Thank you, Don. All right, moving on. Monthly appropriations, Richmond County Department of Social Services.
Yes, sir. Need a chair to appropriate $85,000 to Richmond County Department of Social Services for December 2020.
So moved.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Item 19, monthly appropriations, Richmond County School Board.
I need a motion to approve $1,446,346 to Richmond County School Board, December 2020.
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Item 20, monthly supplemental appropriations.
Yes, I have 2 of these, I believe, and these follow our trend over the last couple of months. They're really nothing unexpected. Asking for a supplemental appropriation to the Board of Supervisors CARES Act, $149,332, offset by a revenue transfer of $149,332. For what you just saw on the screen for the month of October, this is Richmond County Public Schools, facilities, technology, nonprofit support, cleaning, PPE, and other.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
And then our second one is for the Department of Emergency Services. This is for $5,173, offset by CARES Act revenue transfer, $5,173. This is for staffing of part-time and full-time services throughout the month of October. This includes 7 COVID-19 calls for service. What we do, when we have a suspected or a positive call, it's tracked. And it's tracked at 3 hours of time for 2 employees at a certain rate that we reimburse back to the general fund for those calls of services. So $5,173.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Can I ask a question? And I wanted to catch it while Mitch was here. If somebody wants to take a COVID test, is there any place that they can go to just walk in and do a
Vanessa's
test?
shaking her head. You want
Oh,
to answer that, Vanessa?
Oh, okay.
She can answer, I mean,
They're coming next week, right? Health department.
yeah, I mean, the health department is trying to schedule, tests, but right now it's like walk-in. Only place I know that has walk-in, so basically you call them ahead of time and you can, hopefully the same day appointment, is Better Med in Fredericksburg. So everybody else right now, it's make the appointment, you wait, you go to, so there's really there's no faith in the accuracy of the quick tests right now. To like what we could purchase and have people come to the station
Right.
and do, the quick test, the saliva test, just the accuracy right now is not at a level where the health department, FDA is all pushing it for community use.
Let me ask, it might help you too, Billy. The thing you send me from the health department,
Mm-hmm.
every week or whatever that comes out, there's testing everywhere, but it's never any in Richmond County. Is that for,
This is the email that Dr. Williams sends to the county administrators. Do you get that?
Mhm.
You do get that?
Well, you usually forward it to me when it's pertinent to something.
We can, I'm pulling it up.
okay.
They came last month for Richmond County.
They did the flu test.
We did the flu.
No, they didn't. COVID, they sent 3 employees.
Oh, we did the COVID rapid testing, or the testing.
Through the health department, and they cycled through, but as far as what we've been doing with the large scale community type stuff, they've scaled that back because of funding,
Yeah.
basically, and.
But I mean, every time Morgan sends it to me, I look at part of it and it's the same 4 or 5 spots in no Richmond County.
It's,
Not even 1 out of every 4 or something.
yeah, most of the time it's all Middle Peninsula, very close to the Three Rivers Health District area, headquarters.
One where they had Colonial Beach.
So right now you got Middlesex, Northumberland Health Department, Gloucester Library, Colonial Beach, and Middlesex Health Department. I mean, can you reach out to Matt?
I'll see Matt probably sometime tomorrow when we go pick up the generators.
See if they put another event up here for us.
Now, I know like with, like what they did after the elections for the poll workers, they had a next day test just for people that worked the polls. I think they had one the closest to Langston at Dreamfields. So, I mean, they're putting little bits and pieces out there, but it's keyhole for certain reasons, for certain issues. It's not a mass public.
Right. But can the Richmond County, I don't know if you know the answer, can the Richmond County people sign up and go to this one in Heathsville or something?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
But I'll revisit, I know we had talked about, the possibility of a vaccine, set up for that, doing something, because that's gonna be such a rapid, thing from when they get the vaccine to when they have to give it is a very small time when and doing, that here for the northern neck, because we're so centrally located. And I'll see Matt tomorrow, when we pick up those generators. So I'll just see if he can get Dr. Williams' ear, maybe look into, is there a possibility of funding another community test as well? Do another drive-through test at the station.
Well, the reason for me asking, I've had several neighbors and people say, well, I have to go to my son's wedding or, something like this. They had to go to Richmond to do something. And they're concerned about them getting infected because they aren't familiar with that environment, but they're also concerned about infecting an elderly parent or somebody else. And I was just they were asking me if there's a place, and they were asking specifically for Richmond County, that they could go like to the rescue squad or the social services or health department and just go in and say, I'd like to be checked. I might have been exposed or
I
something.
definitely see once the rapid tests evolve and the accuracy levels are higher, that has been talked that, the health department will supply us with the training, us with the kits, we'll be able to do so many kits a month. But that's a little ways out still, I think.
Okay.
My best advice to them is the same thing, what I tell everybody, follow your guidelines. If you follow the guidelines, if you're sick, stay home. If you feel bad, stay home. If you it don't even matter if you meet the sign, no, Vanessa and I have talked about it, don't matter if, here's the block of signs that says it's COVID-19 and you have this, it's outside the box, stay home. Because this thing's like any other virus, it mutates. And it's gonna rapidly mutate through flu season, so, if you feel bad, stay home. If you don't feel bad, you don't have a fever, wear your mask, socially distance, clean your hands. That's what we gotta do, new way to say new normal. But we'll work on it, I'll work on getting you a better answer.
Okay, thank you.
And I heard you say that the day after the election, people were taking the test. You can actually, within 24 hours, if you've been exposed, it will show up.
The incubation time is 7 days, but like they say with the rapid test, they're looking for, antibodies. And that's why it's like, we'd rather have the 7-day, negative test instead of a rapid test, but yes. I mean, they are claiming that if you were exposed today and you go get a rapid test tomorrow, some of the antibodies would show up.
Okay.
There seems to be some disagreement as to whether that
I mean,
accurate.
I would have loved to gotten quick swabs and, for my recent surgeries, I had to have a COVID test every time prior to, having surgery. And they tickled the back of my neck both times, so yes, I would love to have just had a saliva swab done and, but, the healthcare on our end, we're still not, confident in that rapid test.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any more questions before we move on? All right, approval of the October the 8th minutes.
Move those minutes be approved.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Do we have to ratify that meeting that we called? Because we didn't advertise it.
Where's he at? Ratify that meeting.
The 18th meeting,
14th?
14th. Yeah, 14th meeting, because that was something that came up at a necessity, wasn't it?
We voted to call it, I don't know that we have to ratify that meeting. I don't think we have to ratify phone polls that are taken
Okay,
taken
all
out.
right, I'm just,
I don't think we have to ratify that meeting.
all right, just checking. If we need to do anything. All right, well, moving right along then, approval of the October the 18th minutes.
14th.
14th, I can't get that out of my head yet. 14th, I'm sorry.
So moved.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Other business, Mr. Felton?
Just congratulations to Kaylee for, and all the volunteers that worked on the voting. Election day, have a good Thanksgiving.
Mr. Thomas?
All right, is there a chance of trying to get a DMV mobile unit to come to Richmond County? I mentioned this some time ago.
I can work with DMV and try to get them
See if
scheduled.
we get a mobile unit, line that up maybe December-ish or January-ish.
I don't know that it's gonna be that soon.
No.
They're, especially with what's going on now, I know that they're
Well,
out.
whenever.
We can work with DMV to try to get them here.
Been brought to my attention, hello,
I think we got a short somewhere, we'll figure it out.
I had a couple citizens that have concern in their neighborhood for homes that have, gone, that are not, they're vacant and the yards and stuff are really overgrown. I told them I would bring this up. I know we're limited, but I thought I would throw this out there and to see. And I saw in the, where we got to do it, part of that is, that's one section in that, comprehensive plan thing, I think.
And our goals.
Yeah.
And our goals is,
Yes.
yes.
So I saw that, but I just wanted to, is there anything,
We don't have a grass, you don't have a grass ordinance. You don't have a tall grass ordinance.
and I don't know that I don't know how to approach, I told them I would bring it up because it is an eyesore and they're neighbors to these properties and it's creating concern, especially when it's, more in the spring when there's snakes and stuff going that grandchildren out playing, different things, so.
We can, yes, we can enforce, junk cars. We can enforce, other solid waste around there, but we don't have you have to cut your grass. Towns generally have that, rural counties don't have you have to cut your grass rule.
I just bring it to the table because it was two separate citizens in two different areas brought it to my attention and I told them I would mention it. There is no junk cars on either site that I'm aware of, so I know that's, the one did have one, but they come got that, so that's not. All right, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And, I covered the ditch thing earlier, so good.
Paul, you have anything?
Just want to reiterate what Bobby said about Haley and their job her staff and the county did with the election was fantastic. Also, congratulations to Dr. Smith and for just accolades to him for what he's done with their school system and then the transition we'll be going through in a couple months there. And also to Chief Paulette, Captain McDaniel on their recognitions. And again, everybody have a great Thanksgiving and just think about what it's about. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Sir?
Ditto what David said. He already covered it all.
Only thing I just ask everybody next few days to please watch out for the water. It's in places you've never seen it before, so please be careful. Morgan, do you have anything?
Other than I guess everybody probably knows, but the announcement was made that Dr. Trey Davis will be taking over for Dr. Smith on February 1st. I think everybody knows Trey, and so that has been announced, and I do have a need for a small closed session to talk about the disposition of real property.
You won't read it?
I move that the board convene in closed session to discuss, as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A3, a matter involving the disposition of public property.
Does that cover both of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. We'll take a brief recess and come back in closed session. That's why Bobby got up and moved. He didn't want to read that.